I agreed to watch my uncle's farm for 3 nights while he drove to Montana for a legal hearing. The property sat 12 miles outside of town, encompassing 90 acres of pasture and livestock pens, along with the main house and a few outbuildings. My younger cousin Emma and Grandma Helen were staying with me, which meant I had to be responsible. The first evening was routine. I fed the goats and the chickens. Emma checked the cattle while Grandma sat in the living room, working on a crossword puzzle. By 11, I finished my rounds, double-checked the gates, and went inside. Just as I bolted the door, the chickens fluttered in their coop. The goats bleated in short bursts, and the cattle shifted in their pen. But the animals did that sometimes. They could have sensed a coyote or fox circling the pens. So, I stood at the kitchen window and scanned the tree line, but could hardly see past 10 meters in the dark. I flipped on the yard lights, flooding the space between the house and the outbuildings. The animals started to calm. That's when I heard footsteps on gravel, coming from the far edge of the property near the fence line. I froze and listened. The footsteps were careful and unhurried. My chest tightened. I waited, hoping they'd pass by. Maybe someone was cutting through and didn't realize this was private land. But when even after 5 minutes they were still there, I decided to make my presence known and scare them off. I stepped onto the porch, turned on the floodlights that lit up the driveway and the front pasture, and banged hard on the railing with my fist. I yelled that the property was occupied and the sheriff had been called. The footsteps stopped. The property fell silent again. I stood there for a few minutes scanning the darkness beyond the lights. When nothing moved, I went back inside and locked the door. Emma was still in her room, and Grandma was asleep on the couch. I told myself it worked, and whatever it was had left. But 10 minutes later I saw movement again. A figure was standing at the very edge of the floodlight, just where the brightness faded into shadow. He was tall and as still as a statue. I stepped closer to the window with my heart pounding. The figure shifted slightly, then disappeared back into the darkness. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the security camera app. The camera near the driveway showed nothing. The one by the barn had a clear view of the pasture, but it was empty. I switched back to the window, but everything seemed fine. 5 minutes later, the figure reappeared near the livestock pen, closer to the house than before. They stood just long enough to be seen, then vanished. My hands were shaking. This wasn't someone cutting through, or someone lost. They were circling the property to test and watch. Over the next 20 minutes, the figure appeared 4 more times, each time a different angle and closer. And each appearance happened after I moved inside or turned off a light, or stepped away from the window. They knew where I was without ever getting close enough to see inside clearly. I realized with cold certainty that they were mapping my reactions. I grabbed my uncle's rifle from the closet and made sure it was loaded. I woke up Emma and told her to take Grandma into the back bedroom. I locked them in and told them not to come out until I said so. Emma asked what was happening.